The breaking point came at the Lancaster Global Annual Retreat. It was held at a luxury lodge in the mountains. Marcus had driven Cassandra and Ayla up, both of whom were invited now that Marcus was formally dating the CEO. They stayed in a suite together, but kept things respectful. Ayla thought it was a mini vacation. Marcus thought it was a test. And then came Harrison Blackwell, board member, traditionalist, ruthless. He cornered Marcus alone near the fire pit, drink in hand, smile too thin to be polite. "You've got a good thing going," Blackwell said. "But if you care about Cassandra, maybe step back before she loses everything." Marcus kept his voice calm. "I think she'd lose more by pretending to be someone she's not." "This isn't about pretending. It's about optics, about credibility, about keeping the company clean." "Clean?" Marcus echoed. "You know what I mean." "No, I don't." "Why don't you say it plain?" Blackwell's jaw tightened. "You're the help, Mr. Duvall. And you're black. This relationship makes people uncomfortable. She doesn't see it, but one day it'll cost her." Marcus felt his fists clench, and then a voice cut through the air behind them. "Is that what you really think, Harrison?" They both turned. Cassandra stood there, arms crossed, eyes burning. "I was just expressing concern," Blackwell stammered. "You were being a coward," she replied, "and a racist one at that." "Cassandra, be reasonable." "I am. And here's my reasoning. If you or any board member has a problem with my personal life, you're welcome to resign. You're risking your leadership." "No," she said. "I'm reinforcing it." She reached for Marcus's hand and held it in front of everyone. The other executives froze. The whispers started. Cameras clicked. But Cassandra didn't let go. "If anyone here believes I can't run this company because I've chosen to love a good man, speak now." No one did, but the fallout came fast. By Monday, 3 board members called for a vote of no confidence. Investors began questioning stability. Public support fractured. Cassandra's team warned her to lay low, to issue a statement, to step away from Marcus. Instead, she called a press conference. Standing at a podium in the Lancaster Global Auditorium, she looked out over the sea of reporters and said calmly, "For years I have been praised for being bold, decisive, and fearless. But now that I've chosen love, I'm suddenly unstable." Flashes exploded. Reporters shouted. She continued, "Yes, I am in a relationship with Marcus Duvall. Yes, he was once my driver. And yes, he is a black single father. If that makes you question my leadership, perhaps your values are the issue, not mine." Marcus watched from the wings, heart pounding. "I've led this company through 2 acquisitions, global expansion, and record-breaking profits. I will not apologize for finding happiness. In fact, I plan to promote Marcus to Vice President of Logistics because he has earned it. Not through proximity, but through talent, discipline, and insight." The room erupted. Later that night, back at the office, Cassandra looked at Marcus with exhaustion in her eyes. "I might have just destroyed everything." He cupped her face gently. "Or you just rebuilt something better." The board meeting that followed was brutal, but in the end, the vote of no confidence failed. Barely. And Marcus Duvall became the newest VP at Lancaster Global. The promotion wasn't just symbolic. He reorganized the company's fleet, streamlined delivery networks, and boosted efficiency by 18% in the first quarter. The numbers spoke louder than Prejudice ever could. 6 months later, in a small garden behind Cassandra's estate, Ayla stood proudly in a lavender dress covered in butterflies. "Daddy, can I say something now?" she whispered. Cassandra nodded. The wedding was small, private, just friends and family. Ayla walked down the aisle between them, holding both their hands. At the front, a local judge smiled. "Marcus Duvall, do you take Cassandra Lancaster to be your partner, your friend, and the love of your life?" "I already have," Marcus replied. "And Cassandra, do you take Marcus and Ayla into your heart, your home, and your future?" "With everything I am," she said, eyes shining. They kissed as guests clapped, but Ayla clapped the loudest. The world didn't stop criticizing. The headlines never fully went away. But Cassandra no longer cared, because she had built something that couldn't be shaken by opinion. A family, a new kind of success, one where love wasn't a liability, but the greatest asset of all. And every morning as Marcus drove his wife and daughter to school and work, he looked in the mirror and remembered the day he took the job no one wanted. He thought he was just applying to drive. He had no idea he was about to find home. What would you do if your daughter's future depended on working for someone who might despise you just for the color of your skin? Would you take the job or walk away? That was the question Marcus Duvall asked himself every minute as he sat in his 2009 Toyota Corolla outside the shimmering glass tower of Lancaster Global. The sun caught the chrome trim of the revolving doors like a spotlight, and for a second, Marcus saw his reflection. Tired eyes, shoulders squared in defiance. His only decent tie cinched just a bit too tight. He had $57 left in his checking account. His rent was overdue by 2 weeks. His daughter, Ayla, barely 7, was staying with his elderly neighbor, Mrs. Navarro, while he chased yet another long-shot opportunity. Only this one was different. This one came with a warning label. Personal driver needed. Lancaster Global CEO. High pay, high stress, no drama tolerance. Previous drivers lasted 3 weeks max. He'd read the posting at least a dozen times, memorizing every word. Everyone in the city knew who the CEO was. Cassandra Lancaster, 30-year-old tech mogul, cold as the Arctic, brilliant, beautiful, billionaire, and, if the online forums were to be believed, an unapologetic perfectionist with no patience for mistakes or emotions. Some called her a genius, others called her a tyrant. One Reddit comment called her an HR violation in stilettos, but the job paid $80,000 a year, and Marcus had a daughter depending on him. When the elevator doors opened to the 47th floor, he stepped out into a world that didn't feel made for men like him. The marble floors gleamed like mirrors. The air smelled like leather and lavender. A receptionist with steel gray eyes and an even steelier tone handed him a clipboard and said without looking up, "Wait, she's never late." It was exactly 2 p.m. when the inner office door opened, and Cassandra Lancaster strode out like a force of nature, high heels tapping a crisp rhythm on the tile, platinum hair cut in a sharp bob, tailored pantsuit tighter than a stock portfolio. Her piercing blue eyes landed on him, flicking over his thrifted tie, the faded polish on his dress shoes, the tension in his jaw. "Mr. Duvall," she said, voice like cold glass, "you're on time." That's a first. Marcus stood. "Yes, ma'am." "I despise tardiness. It's the first sign of mediocrity." She didn't shake his hand, didn't offer a seat, just turned on her heel and walked toward the elevator. "Follow me." The job interview, apparently, was going to happen in transit. Once inside the private garage, she threw a quick glance at the company-issued black Escalade. "You do know how to drive something bigger than a Corolla, yes?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Do not speak unless spoken to. I have 18-hour workdays, 3 phones, 5 overlapping schedules, and a reputation for perfection. Previous drivers quit, cried, or nearly caused accidents trying to impress me. I do not need charm. I need competence. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am." She finally looked at him again. Properly this time. "You're overqualified. Your resume says finance." "I was an accountant for 6 years before the pandemic layoffs. Since then, I've been cleaning offices and doing app deliveries to keep food on the table." "And you think driving me will be easier than that?" "No, ma'am," Marcus said simply, "but I think it'll be worth it." Something flickered in her eyes. Curiosity? Doubt? It vanished as quickly as it came. "You start Monday, 5:45 a.m. If you're 1 minute late, you're gone." His first week was hell. Cassandra Lancaster had more meetings in a day than most people had in a week. From sunrise to past midnight, Marcus drove her to investor briefings, media appearances, product launches, and private board dinners where power moved in whispers. She barked orders like a general, criticized his turning radius, hated his choice of routes, had a full-blown meltdown over a lukewarm bottle of Evian. And still, Marcus didn't flinch. Because every night, when he came home to Ayla and warmed up leftovers for their late dinners together, he remembered what was at stake. "Did you meet the ice lady today, Daddy?" Ayla asked one night, her tiny legs swinging under the table. Marcus chuckled, exhausted. "She's not made of ice, baby." Just very, very busy. Does she have kids? No. Then she must be lonely. He paused, fork halfway to his mouth. Ayla had a strange way of seeing the world. Clear and honest, like her mother used to. On the sixth day, something shifted. It was after a tense conference call gone badly, and Cassandra slumped into the back seat, pulling her sunglasses down like armor. "Take me to the overlook," she muttered. Marcus didn't ask which one. He'd memorized her preferences by now. When they arrived, she stepped out, walked to the edge of the cliff road where the city skyline stretched like a painting, and just stood there. He waited, quietly, respectfully. Finally, she spoke without turning. "You've lasted longer than most. I plan to keep lasting." "Why?" He hesitated. "Because I need this job. And because I think you work harder than anyone gives you credit for." That got her attention. She turned, one eyebrow arched. "Flattery? No. Observation." A long pause, then, unexpectedly, a quiet laugh. "You're strange, Mr. Duvall. Only on days that end in Y." She smirked, the closest thing to a smile he'd seen all week, then got back in the car. 2 days later, disaster struck. Mrs. Navarro was rushed to the hospital. No one else could watch Ayla. He paced his apartment like a caged tiger, phone in hand. He could call out, but Cassandra wouldn't tolerate it. She'd fire him and his daughter would lose everything. So he made a choice. As she stepped into the car that morning, he turned and said, voice low, "Ma'am, I need to disclose something." She raised an eyebrow. "My daughter's in the back." "I had no one else. I understand if this is unacceptable." Instead of rage, Cassandra's response was silence. Then, "Let me see her." Ayla peeked out from behind the seat, eyes wide. Cassandra leaned in slightly. "Name?" "Ayla." "You like coloring?" Ayla nodded. "I brought crayons." To Marcus's shock, Cassandra opened her own briefcase, pulled out a spare tablet, and handed it over. "Use this, but no games. Just drawing, yes, ma'am." From that day forward, Ayla became a quiet presence in their world. And slowly, one day, one car ride, one coloring page at a time, so did something else. Warmth, humanity, connection. What happens when a billionaire who trusts no one begins to trust the one man she never expected to need? The Monday after Ayla's unexpected first ride-along, Marcus arrived 15 minutes early, heart pounding. Part of him expected a security guard to stop him at the elevator or find a termination notice waiting on the front desk. But instead, the receptionist barely looked up and simply said, "She's waiting downstairs." Same vehicle. He didn't know whether to be relieved or nervous. When Marcus opened the driver's side door of the black Escalade, Cassandra was already seated in the back, flipping through projections on her tablet with surgical focus. Without looking up, she spoke. "Did Ayla have breakfast?" Marcus hesitated, caught off guard. "Yes, toast and scrambled eggs." "Good. Children perform better with protein." That was all she said, but it wasn't nothing. That afternoon, Cassandra handed him a sticky note with a name and number. "My assistant Rachel has a 9-year-old daughter. Ayla can stay with them after school if necessary. I had their background check expedited. It's safe." Marcus blinked, unsure how to respond. "That's incredibly kind of you." "It's not kindness," she replied quickly. "It's operational efficiency. Unsupervised children create unreliable employees. I don't like inefficiency." He smiled inwardly. She could deny it all she wanted, but she had done this for Ayla, and for him. Over the next 2 weeks, Ayla occasionally accompanied her father to work when childcare fell through. Cassandra never complained. In fact, during long drives, she asked Ayla questions. At first they were formal, data-gathering types. "What books do you read? What are your favorite colors?" But soon those questions turned into something more curious. "Do you like butterflies? Have you ever been to a museum? What makes you laugh? Why don't you have any pictures in your office?" Ayla asked innocently one day from the back seat. Marcus winced at the question, but Cassandra didn't lash out. Instead, she looked out the window for a long moment. "Because I never had time to take any?" "That's sad," Ayla said gently. Cassandra didn't reply, but her fingers drummed on her handbag for the next 10 minutes. That Friday, they were driving back from an investor dinner when Cassandra, exhausted and quiet in the back seat, finally let the silence break. "You're unusually perceptive, Mr. Duvall. I drive someone who never stops working. You start to notice things. I work because I have to," she muttered. "Do you?" She looked up. "Excuse me? I mean, you're the CEO. You could take a vacation, hire more staff, delegate, but you don't. You take the weight of everything. That's leadership. That's loneliness." Another long silence followed. She didn't argue. That was the first time Marcus saw it. The crack behind the perfect posture, the fatigue beneath the foundation. And in that moment, she didn't seem powerful or intimidating. She seemed tired. The following Monday, Marcus received a call at 6 a.m. It was Rachel. "She's not coming in today." First time I've ever seen her cancel anything. "She's sick." "Like actually sick," Marcus paused. "She okay?" "She won't say. Probably won't let anyone in either." Without hesitation, Marcus stopped at Whole Foods and gathered a small care package. Organic soup, lemon ginger tea, honey, cough drops, and a heating pad. Then he drove to her estate, a sprawling modern mansion tucked behind steel gates and camera-lined fences. He rang the bell and waited. When the door opened, he almost didn't recognize her. Cassandra stood barefoot, wearing an oversized hoodie and loose joggers, hair unstyled, eyes bleary. She blinked in surprise. "Mr. Duvall?" He lifted the bag. "Delivery. You came all the way out here?" "Someone had to." She stared at him, then quietly stepped aside. "Come in." The interior of her home was spotless and cold. Polished concrete floors, white walls, massive windows. But hidden among the minimalism were subtle contradictions. A shelf of well-loved paperback novels, a baby grand piano with dust on the keys, a picture frame tucked behind a row of books, a teenage Cassandra grinning next to a man with a kind face. "3, you play piano?" Marcus asked. "I used to," she said as she curled up on the couch, "before numbers became my only language." "You should play again. No one claps for Chopin in boardrooms." He didn't push. He just warmed up the soup and set it beside her with a bottle of water. They didn't talk business that night. They talked about people, about family. Cassandra opened up slowly, like a door that had rusted shut. She told him how her mother had passed when she was 10, how her father buried himself in work and only spoke to her in the language of results. Success became her love language, performance, her survival. Marcus in turn shared about Ayla's mom, about the poetry she used to write, about the silence that filled their apartment the night she passed, and how he'd been fighting ever since to keep that silence from swallowing him and his daughter whole. By the time he stood to leave, Cassandra's eyes had softened. "You're the first person who ever came here without wanting something from me," she whispered. "I wanted you to feel better." "That's something, isn't it?" She nodded but didn't speak again. After that evening, something began to grow between them, something quiet but undeniable. Cassandra asked more personal questions during rides. Marcus began receiving messages at odd hours. Not work-related, just curious. "What's Ayla's favorite book? Do you believe people can really change? What's your dream if money wasn't a concern?" At first, he answered politely. Then he answered honestly. And then came the night that changed everything. Cassandra had invited Marcus and Ayla to dinner at her house. It was Ayla's idea, really. She had asked during a ride home, "Can we eat dinner together like a family sometime?" To Marcus's surprise, Cassandra said yes. He brought over homemade spaghetti. Cassandra made garlic bread. They drank orange juice out of wine glasses and ate off fine china, while Ayla told knock-knock jokes with the confidence of a stand-up comic. After dinner, Ayla fell asleep on the couch wrapped in one of Cassandra's cashmere throws. They both watched her for a long time in silence. "She's remarkable," Cassandra said softly. "She's everything," Marcus replied. He turned to her, and their eyes met, not in passing, but in full awareness. The air between them shifted. The tension wasn't professional anymore. It was human, warm, fragile. "I'm not good at this," she whispered. "At what?" "Letting people in." "You're doing it right now." She looked down, her voice barely audible. "And what happens when it falls apart?" "Then we figure it out together." He reached for her hand and she didn't pull away. Their first kiss was hesitant, almost accidental. It wasn't dramatic. There were no fireworks, but it was real, deep, and it left both of them breathless in a way neither had expected. That night, as Marcus carried a sleeping Ayla to the car, Cassandra walked beside him, arms crossed but not in defense, in protection, of something she was only now realizing she wanted to keep. "I don't know what this is," she said before they drove off. "Neither do I," Marcus replied. "But I want to find out." She nodded. "I think I do too." For a woman who had built walls around her heart her entire life, how far would she go to protect the man who made her believe in love? In the weeks after that dinner, things changed. Not publicly, not yet, but privately in all the little ways that matter most. Cassandra started taking her morning coffee in the front passenger seat instead of the back. She learned how Ayla liked her toast slightly burnt and helped braid her hair when they were running late for school. She texted Marcus not just to confirm meetings, but to ask how his day was going. They talked more, laughed more, lived more. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. The first headline came like a slap across the face. Ice Queen warms up to her driver. Tech mogul seen laughing in SUV with employee and child. A grainy photo of Cassandra smiling at something Ayla said was plastered across the homepage of a business gossip site. Comments flooded in, many of them cruel. The same men who once praised Cassandra for her intellect and ruthlessness now questioned her judgment and distractions. Marcus was furious. Cassandra was quiet. "This is what happens when people can't put you in a box," she finally said. "They try to burn the box down." He reached across the car and took her hand. "We don't owe anyone an explanation, but if this puts your position at risk—" "I am the CEO," she said firmly. "If they think a woman can't love and lead, that's their problem." But Marcus could see the tension building behind her eyes. The next week at work, board members began pulling her into closed-door meetings. Her assistant Rachel warned that two longtime investors were getting nervous. Clients whispered, employees stared. Everyone had an opinion.